And we're back with another episode of Living in Granbury and Beyond. Today we're at the courthouse on Granbury Square, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of moving to Granbury in 2024. So we've been here for several years. We've been shooting the channel. We've had a lot of people calling in, and a lot's changed, honestly, here in the Granbury market. So what are the pros and cons of moving to Granbury here in 2024? We're going to jump into that right now. If this is your first time to the channel, we really appreciate you tuning in to today's episode. Be sure to click that subscribe button and press that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about any changes here in the Granbury market. As always, we get calls, texts, and emails of people that are maybe looking at retiring, moving here to Texas. Maybe not sure if they want to go Granbury. Maybe they're looking at Arkansas or other areas. Feel free to reach out to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We'd love the chance to connect with you, give you some advice, and maybe help that decision become a little bit clearer for you. We know that a lot of times this move is going to be a year or two out, so we're happy to connect with you soon, early, and help you start gathering that information. And yeah, we just want to be helpful. So, pros and cons of Granbury, Texas. Well, one of the cool things about Granbury is this Granbury Square. The whole thing was annexed, and the entire square is in the historic district. So there's lots of cool features about this specific square that you're not gonna get on other squares. So if I just pop it around, you have your Granbury Live here. We have a couple of coffee shops here on the square. We have 1890, which is a fantastic restaurant. There's a cool spot, actually, called Farina's, and they have a bar that is like an antique bar from the 1800s that Al Capone and some of his crew used to sit at up in New York. So really cool spot, really cool history that you'll find here. If you come and visit, this is one of the best squares you're ever gonna be at. So it's really, really cool square. We also have Lake Granbury. So Lake Granbury, there's all sorts of stuff to do on Lake Granbury. You can rent boats at one of the restaurants around town. You actually go eat there, and they have boats, like boats you can go and rent. So my mom came in one time for one of my kids' birthday, and she rented a pontoon boat just one afternoon, and the kids went out and was having fun, and my daughter was actually riding on the tube. And her older brother was telling her that there are alligators all in the lake, which is not true. But anyway, she's on the tube, and the front of it starts to dip under the water, and she felt like something was biting the tube and pulling underwater. So she started yelling. Everybody in Granbury heard her. But the Lake Granbury is fantastic. Lots of stuff to do here, and really a cool place as far as activities go. We're gonna highlight in some drone footage Sandy Beach. So if you walk down from the square and you walk back toward 377 from the square, there's a little beach right next to the Hilton Hotel, and then we can actually hit some of it for you. But there's a place you can go out and hang out. The kids will play. We actually had a bet, you know, my buddy and I, we were doing a show about oil and gas out in West Texas. And if we hit a certain amount of reviews, we had to actually go into the Lake Granbury in the middle of January. So we luckily lost that bet, and yeah, we ended up both doing it. We called it the Polar Plunge, and we got it on video. It was real cool. But the Sandy Beach is a fantastic spot. I'm gonna highlight some of it out there. There's a little dock you can go out on. I told you I was gonna get you some footage from the Sandy Beach here in Granbury, and I am gonna walk out there right now. Obviously, we're gonna get you some drone footage. Check it out. We got a little beach here in Granbury. It's not exactly the Florida Keys, but it'll do. Yeah, there's a little walkway out here. So we can walk out on this. I mean, it's just beautiful out here. So straight ahead here, a couple of pavilions. So this is where it went down. Polar Plunge, we were on that first spot right there under that pavilion, and we went out into that water in the middle of January, and we were completely manly about it. Yeah, I do not look fondly upon that. That was pre-COVID, so that was back like 2019. It's been a few years. I haven't forgotten what that water felt like. So fantastic spot here, out here on the Sandy Beach. Like I said, this is a great lake for skiing and, you know, going out and hanging out with the family. I am a fisherman by trade. I have not heard very good things about Granbury fishing. Haven't done a lot of fishing here myself. As I've gotten older, haven't had as much time. Lake Whitney is where a lot of people go for fishing. You probably have a few gurus that have some honey holes that are spread out around here that are fantastic for fishing. I don't know those personally, but they might be pretty good. So with that, I think we got some footage around town, drone footage, take a look at that, and yeah, we'll go from there. really cool. Not only is there a lot of stuff to do here, we get calls and texts all the time. It's like, hey, Granbury, how easy is it to plug in? We have a business, we're gonna move, we're not retiring for 5 years. We wanna get our business up and running there ahead of time. So we wanna go ahead and buy a property maybe in a year or two, and then we wanna get our business to kind of start doing some marketing and start getting it set up. What are some things we can do to get it going? Well, Granbury is by far, second to none, the best place I've ever been if you're trying to get your business off the ground. They've got so many things for networking and opportunities to plug in. Leadership Granbury is a very cool thing you can plug into. They have the Chamber of Commerce that's always running event. They have Coffee and Connections the first Thursday of every month. And they have other networking things you can do. The community is very supportive, and I just couldn't imagine a better place if you were looking to get started in a business than Granbury, because if you're willing to go out and give good service, over time your business will grow. That's just the way this community is, and it's really cool. I was in the Leadership Granbury, I'm in it right now actually, and going through it with a buddy of mine, and we met with the sheriff in town, we met with police chief, we went to the prison, the jail here in town, and just really cool. You get to learn so much about the city of Granbury. Like, one of the things we learned that's kind of an anomaly about Granbury is that most of the population is outside of the city limits, which I've said that before in previous videos. But just to give you a little bit of perspective, inside of the city is probably like 10, 12,000 people, but the county is like 60,000. And when they ran scenarios like, why don't we have a Target? Why don't we have a typical fire department? Why don't we have a typical EMT? Well, the reason is because the way the population is set up, it doesn't meet the certain criteria that people want for that. But we're actually a bigger city. It's just the way it's structured is not typical. So years ago, there was a manager of HEB that wanted to put a store here. They ran the numbers, didn't work out. They didn't have enough people inside the city within so many miles of the store. They didn't want to do it. Well, this manager overrode it. They put the store in, and now people drive from 30 miles from all around, from Lipan, Toller, from Glen Rose to go to the HEB here, and it's one of the most successful HEBs because the demographics here just don't fit the typical expectation. Our fire department, for example, volunteer fire department typically takes 10 minutes to deploy when you call in. Ours takes 2.5 minutes. If you go into Fort Worth, the average time is like 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. We're at 2.5 minutes. So we're functioning more like a city than we are a volunteer fire department, but we don't fit those specific criteria and the way they want everything to function. Yeah, it's just an interesting setup. Some of the similar things with the EMT, which I have found out that the fire department and EMT, they're planning to build like 3 new structures that they're gonna share that will help them deploy across the county more effectively, faster. So it's gonna be good. What's another pro? Well, some of these things could be pros. They could also be considered cons. It's a very conservative city. I think if you go look just historically, last election, 87% of the city voted for President Trump. 13% voted for President Biden. So very conservative city. You're gonna have a lot of conservative people and principles. A lot of the people that are moving from out of state, California, Oregon, Washington, wherever, they're actually conservatives that lived in these blue states that are moving here for conservative reasons. You got other cities, like Austin, Texas, and other areas in Texas that are very supportive of business, but are very left-leaning or more bluish in their makeup. So Dallas, for example, is going to be more blue, whereas Granbury is going to be like solid red, it feels like. So that's something that might be a pro for you, it might be a con. There is an expectation for Granbury to grow to 100,000 people, not Granbury, but Hood County. Right now we're at 60. They're expecting to be at 100,000 within 5 years. So the population is growing. Maybe that's a pro, maybe that's a con. For businesses and owners around here, that's great news. For you, if you're trying to go to a little quiet city, hey, maybe that's not exactly what you're looking for. They are planning to expand the 377 out. I got word that is gonna start around 2027, so that is a good ways away, but we are looking at having some more road work done. The overpass in Crescent is almost done. From Fort Worth to Granbury is done. Granbury to Fort Worth should be done by the end of next year. So we're right there at the end of that, and that's really gonna help some. What are some cons? Well, main con I would say is going to be the traffic here in Granbury. If we are going to get any sort of complaints, it is the traffic, and that's what the 377 expansion is looking to address, also the overpass. The other con for Granbury is going to be the job market. For surging population, there's just not enough jobs here in the city to sustain itself, so a lot of people are working in Fort Worth, a lot of them travel to Arlington, Weatherford. A lot of people can work remotely, work from home. So that is one thing to consider if you're looking here in Granbury, is that there are a lot of people that work outside the city or work remotely, or maybe go into the office once a week or something like that. So there is a limit on that. However, the wastewater treatment that was approved is supposed to be the catalyst to bring in that extra 40,000 in population. There are going to be a lot of businesses coming in and a lot of job opportunities that are on the horizon. We're going to see a strong job market, I believe, over the next 3 to 5 years start to form here in the Granbury market. But for right now, that is still a con. Another con for Granbury is that a lot of people want to drive in and kind of scope the area out. Maybe they want to go look at some neighborhoods, look at some homes and see what the neighborhoods are like. Well, Granbury has a ton of neighborhoods that are gated. De Cordova, Pecan Plantation, Catalina Bay, Indian Harbor, Canyon Creek, and the list could go on. Rolling Creek Ranch. A lot of these neighborhoods are gated. You can't get into them. Well, if you want to get in, hey, I'll be your huckleberry. Give me a call. I can help you get into some of these neighborhoods if you're going to visit in town. No obligation. Don't feel like you got to use me or something like that in the future. Just give me a call. I'd love to help with getting you into one of these neighborhoods, and you could go tour around, drive some of the streets, look at some of the homes, and figure out if this is a good fit for you. So happy to help in any way I can on that. I know that it's a con. We've gotten complaints about it. People have called me, I'm in for the weekend. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to waste your time, and now I can't get in any neighborhoods. Well, there you go. So yeah, hit me up. I'd love to help. And last but not least, for Granbury, if you're used to living in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, there's not as much entertainment options, not just the job market, but there's not as quite as many entertainment options as you're going to get in some of those big cities. So if that's kind of what you're used to, you might have to adjust. That said, for a city this size, there's a lot going on. Visitor Center always has things, always live music at these places. Anytime like 4th of July, the population of Granbury like quadruples because we're such a tourist heavy city. We were voted one of the best historic small towns in the nation. So we get people from all over that are visiting. So cool spot, highly recommend if you haven't really done more digging into Granbury and you're looking for a small conservative town to retire or move to with your family. Granbury is a really good spot. There are some cons. If you've got to work, in Dallas, that's a heck of a drive to make, every day, 5 days a week. So there are some things to consider. And if you want to bounce a few things off of me, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'd love the chance to share anything that I have with you. Yeah, if I don't hear from you, hope to see you around Granbury sometime.